Hello everyone, I am Lakshay from HT Canada. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Michael Barrett, Member of Parliament and Conservatives Shadow Minister for Ethics and Accountable Government. Recently he wrote a letter to Mark Carney saying his ethics are not disclosed to the public, so he must disclose his financial things with Justin Trudeau. So we will have in-depth conversation with him. Hello and welcome Mr. Barrett. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Lakshay from HT Canada.
Yeah, pleasure to be with you.
So how's your day going so far?
That's good. Yeah, it's great. It's a cold day here in Brockville. I think it was minus 20 when I got up this morning, so looking for some warmer weather.
You recently wrote a letter to Mark Carney saying about his ethics disclosure. Why do you believe that it was necessary to bring this out in the public?
What we have with Mark Carney is someone who's advised Justin Trudeau for half a decade, and then since the fall was the head of the economic task force, working as the phantom finance minister for Justin Trudeau. But Trudeau protected Mark Carney from having to make all of the ethics disclosures that someone normally in that role would take. And we saw a few different examples of how Mark Carney's business interests were benefited during that time that he was sitting around the table with the Prime Minister, whether it was changes to mortgage rules and the company that he represents, their interests in private mortgages. They're the country's largest private mortgage insurer, or his company's interest in a heat pump company, while advising Justin Trudeau to expand heat pumps, and we saw them famously pushing heat pumps. And the same is true for Mr. Carney's role as a board member at Stripe, which has been accused of gouging consumers, but didn't face any pressure from the government. So now we have Mark Carney, who's coming through the Liberal leadership. If he wins, he becomes Prime Minister, and he can be Prime Minister for 4 months before, according to the current rules, before he would have to make a disclosure, tell Canadians what his conflicts of interest are. We're saying that's not okay. Mark Carney needs to disclose what his conflicts of interests are, what his business dealings are to the public today.
You recently also held a news conference on this issue. So what was the message that you were hoping to give it out to Canadians?
Canadians deserve a government, they deserve a Prime Minister to be accountable to them. And Canadians should know that the decisions that are being made because they're in the best interest of all Canadians, not looking to privilege well-connected insiders. We've seen for the last 9 years that the Liberals have rewarded these wealthy and well-connected friends of theirs. Justin Trudeau was found to have broken ethics laws twice. His finance minister, Dominic LeBlanc, broke ethics laws. His trade minister, Mary Ng, broke ethics laws. These are the people that have been running the country, and they've been using their time in office to try and make their friends and the well-connected much better off. Well, Canadians have really been struggling with higher prices, unaffordable homes, rising grocery prices, and it's time that we put Canadians first, and that's what Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, that's what we're planning to do.
In regards to this, some critics might say that this is politically motivated since Mark Carney is Liberal leadership candidate. How do you respond to that?
It's a great question. I would encourage people to look at my letter to the lobbying commissioner in the fall, in October, and questions to the ethics commissioner at committee. And we put these questions before there was a Liberal leadership, before Justin Trudeau had resigned. And why did we do it? Because it's important that Canadians get transparency. We've seen what happens when a government tries to keep things from Canadians, like they did with some of their scandals, like the ArriveCan scandal, $60 million going to well-connected insiders. They tried to shut down committee hearings. We're trying to give Canadians transparency. We're fighting to do that as the official opposition, and that's what our commitment is to Canadians should we have the privilege to serve Canadians as the next government.
And what will be the Conservative Party stance on ethics?
The rules that we have in place today only are there because Conservatives passed accountability laws after forming government under Prime Minister Stephen Harper. What we didn't know is that the Liberals would seem unconcerned, that they would break those laws. And that's why we have Justin Trudeau, who has broken those laws, and his former finance minister, his current finance minister, his trade minister, his former parliamentary secretary, who's now the Speaker of the House. They all broke those ethics laws. We need tougher rules. We need stronger disclosure, stronger accountability for Canadians. And we did it when we formed government previously, and we'll bring in more accountability measures, more transparency measures for Canadians, because we have to restore confidence that Canadians have in their elected officials and members of parliament, so that we can, so that Canadians aren't wondering and worrying about that, and so that politicians are focused only on what's best for Canadians and not focused on their well-connected friends and insiders.
Many Canadians say many politicians, regardless of the party, fails to be accountable. So what will you say to the people who have lost trust in the system?
Canadians can have that second set of eyes, that transparency, that accountability, and that it's being used. It's unfortunate to see that when we've looked to have some of these measures passed, that the Carney Trudeau Liberals have voted against things like having an audit. Well, we all know, whether you're a small business owner and you have to face an audit, or a Canadian who does your taxes, you have to expect that the information that you provide is correct and that you're prepared to have it reviewed. Well, that's exactly what we want, and what we will provide to Canadians is transparency, and we're going to be ready so that Canadians can see the information, and will of course support the work and encourage the work of Canada's Auditor General and the officers of Parliament, because this is so important, and that's how we're going to restore Canadians' trust.
If Mark Carney says no to his ethics disclosure, so being a shadow minister for ethics and accountable government, what actions will you take?
So this is what we have in our wonderful democracy, where we're able to ask these tough questions and give the opportunity. You know, as the Shadow Minister for Ethics and Accountable Government, what I'm really doing here is I'm giving Mark Carney the opportunity to do the right thing. And if Mr. Carney chooses to ignore this reasonable request to be transparent with Canadians, well, they're going to have an opportunity. They're going to have an opportunity in a general election to let Mark Carney and the Liberals know if that's acceptable or not. If Canadians are losing trust, well, this is your opportunity to cast a ballot and to vote for a party, to vote for Conservatives who believe in that transparency and accountability. And that's how Mark Carney will get the message. That's how future Liberal MPs will get the message that they are accountable to Canadians, that they are the servants. Politicians are the servants and not the masters, and that's something that the Liberals have forgotten over the last 9 years.
Beyond ethics, what do you believe is the next top priority in the next federal election?
Most important thing for the next election is the cost of living, the cost of living that Canadians are facing, whether that's driven by the carbon tax that's raised the prices of gas, groceries, and home heating. Conservatives have said we're going to eliminate that tax. The Liberals' capital gains tax, which is driving investment away from this country, we're going to eliminate that. The problem with not having enough homes so that young people can afford to buy a home, we need to take the federal sales tax off the construction of new homes. That'll save Canadians tens of thousands of dollars. We need to make sure that any new spending the government does, that just like you do in your home budget or a small business, that we find $1 of saving for every new dollar of spending. And I think that we have to restore the safety that Canadians expect, that we expect for ourselves, for our children, for our neighbors, safe communities. And so we have to make sure that anyone who is committing violent crimes, that they're kept behind bars, that they stay in jail, they're not given bail. And that's a problem that we've seen with repeat violent offenders. So we need to solve that. We need to do the same thing to make sure that anyone who's dealing in toxic, in poison, fentanyl, that fentanyl dealers, that they get life in prison, because this is a deadly substance. So it's about affordability, it's about sustainability by fixing the budget, and it's about safety, making sure that we have a safe streets and a safe country. That's what we're going to be focused on in the next election, because that's what we've heard from Canadians are the issues that are important to them.
Finally, what message would you like Canadians to take from our today's meeting?
I appreciate the conversation, and I'm always so happy to have the opportunity to share with Canadians, these ideas, this vision that we have for Canada. It's such a wonderful place that we have with with a history that we can be proud of, but a future that we can be excited about. And the promise that this country offers is one that involves every generation, and it involves everyone of every background. We need to work together, because that's the promise that this country has. If you work hard, that you're able to have a good life, to afford a home and nutritious food to feed your family, and that you live in a safe community, and that you're able to retire comfortably. And that's what we're offering, the policies that Pierre Poilievre and our Common Sense Conservative team is offering to Canadians. And we're very excited about that, and encourage anyone who has questions to of course reach out to their local Conservative candidate, and to definitely check out and follow Pierre Poilievre online, because we're very excited about the future of this country, and I'm so excited about his leadership for country, and to finally put Canada first.
Mr. Barrett, thank you so much again for joining us today. It has been a great discussion on ethics, transparency, and what needs to be changed in the political system. So thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We had a very great discussion with Mr. Michael Barrett related on the topics of ethics, transparency, and what needs to be changed in our political system. So for more interviews and discussions like these, please like, share, and subscribe to Abler HT Canada, and we are waiting for your valuable comments. This is Lakshya signing off for today.